Buenos días. Aquí viene la abuelita. Bienvenidos. Welcome to la escuelita de abuelita. Yo soy la abuelita. Yes, I am the grandmother. I have 3 beautiful granddaughters and 1 grandson. And you know what? Talking about granddaughters, let me share something with you. My granddaughter, Emily is the second of my granddaughters. Emily colored and cut this beautiful egg for me. Look at all the beautiful colors. And she also cut out her name for me. And she cut out a beautiful red heart. And you know what? This is so special. Maybe you can color something really pretty for your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa or your aunt and uncle or whoever it is that you live with. Because nothing is as special a gift as something that someone makes for you. Yesterday we read a book. ¿Recuerdan? Leímos un libro. Y yo le repasé algunas palabras. Este fue el libro que leímos ayer. This is a book that we read yesterday. It was a story of Easter. And we talked about Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem all the way until Jesus was crucified, the stone was moved, and an angel came. All right? And the stone was moved. And Jesus went up to heaven. And today we all celebrate it. So, you remember all of that, right? Well, some of the words that we talked about yesterday were, well, this is one of the words for sure. Remember this word? Easter. I'm going to put this word up here so you can see it, Easter, because it's really, really important. I'm having a hard time here. It's really important that you know the words of the books you are reading. I'm going to tell you a secret. The more you can read, the more you can write, the better you're going to be able to do in school. And of course, reading a book is so much fun. Reading a book, especially in these days that we can't go out much, that we can't go to different places. Let me tell you, the best thing you can do is sit in a corner. Hey, like La Escuelita de Abuelita has a corner. And sit and read all by yourself. Because when you read, it is such an exciting experience. You can pretend that you are the people that you're reading about and that you visit the places that you read. It's excellent. But anyway, let's go on because I get so excited about reading. Let's go on and talk about a few of the other words, even though some of these words we had yesterday. Another word we have today is the word stone. Stone. That's another word. This one's really easy. ¿Y saben que esto también es en español? Jesús. Jesús. Jesus. Except in Spanish, we put a little mark up here. It's called an accent. But that's the word Jesus. And this is really easy. This is the word eggs. My granddaughter colored an egg for me. Here is the word eggs. And this one has an S at the end, which means it's a plural, more than one. Pray. Remember when you hear me say these words in the book, you want to raise your hand right away. Raise your hand right away so mom and dad and everyone knows, and you also know that you're paying attention. The next word is hope. Hope. Here's the word hope. And we have the word church. You know what? I'm going to leave church for last. Here's the word faith. See, today I mixed up the words. Yesterday, the words that I gave to you, I gave them to you in the order that I would be reading them. But today I mixed them up. And these are 2 of them that I mixed up. This is the word faith. And this word is really important. I'll tell you why. Normally we go to a temple, which is a building, and we go there to worship God. But you know who's a real church? It's not that temple, no. You and I, we are all the church. Especially now because we can't go out. It's important to remember we are the church, which means we take Jesus wherever we go because Jesus lives in me and he lives in you. Oh, look, actually, that's what it says here. Jesus lives in you. So let's get going quickly. I started reading the story already because I thought the story was a little too long yesterday. This story is about a family. They have a mom and a dad and a daughter and a son. Okay, so there are 4 people in the family. So there's a brother and sister. And what happens is the little girl gets very sick. The little girl gets very sick. She has to go to the hospital. So what I'm going to do is very briefly read, and I may even kind of summarize, which means kind of talk a little bit about what the story was about. The little boy could not go to the hospital with the mom and the dad because mom and dad had to take her to the hospital. She was so sick. She had a really, really high fever. So mom and dad had neighbors. It was another couple. It was very nice. And mom and dad left the boy with the neighbor, okay? His name was Thomas. Actually, that's a character in the Bible. So what happens is, while Thomas is there staying with this family, they talk about the story that we've been reading, Easter, and Jesus. And they talk about that, and they like to do something that many people like to do also, which is dye eggs. You know, eggs are usually white or brown, so they like to also color them. And they dye them and they color them different colors. If you look here carefully, I have an Easter basket here. What do we call an Easter basket? It's a basket full of eggs. So what happens is Thomas and the family are learning about Jesus, and he remembers that he had spoken to his sister Lucy and says, hey, what are the eggs for? So you know what his sister told him? Well, you know what the eggs are for? The eggs really, 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 really have nothing to do with Easter, not the Bible story. The reason we use eggs is because chicks come out of eggs. And during the springtime, a lot of chicks are hatched. So people remember springtime as a time where new life happens to come along. And that's why we use the eggs. The other thing, remember we talked yesterday about another animal that is really not related to Easter? Let's see if you can remember. Think about what other animal do we hear a lot about that really is not about Easter? Here we go, the bunny. And the bunny is also another animal that you don't usually see until the springtime. He hides in woods, he hides in different places, and then they start coming out in the spring. So really, 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 the bunny doesn't have anything to do with Easter, the Bible story, just the spring story. And that reminds me of something I saw once in the store, and I thought it was so cute. I thought my granddaughters would like it. Can you read it? It says, silly rabbit, Easter is for Jesus. I thought it was silly and funny, and that's why I got it. So anyway, let's go back to our story. In our story, the little girl that got sick, that went to the hospital, was telling her brother that really the egg has nothing to do with Easter. It's just that the chick cracks from the egg, and that's why everyone talks about that. What we want to remember is that Jesus was crucified, he rose from the dead, and that's why we celebrate Resurrection Day, which is really what Easter's about, Resurrection Day. So his sister was still in the hospital, and the woman who he was staying with decided, why don't we dye eggs? So all day Saturday, Thomas stayed inside and colored eggs. It was raining outside, but he could see that things were beginning to look brighter. And as he looked outside, he saw the twigs, which is the pieces of wood, sort of like this one here, I guess. The twigs started blooming. They started showing little parts of green, which are buds, because they're going to be blooming soon. And then he remembered the story of the Easter egg. Then for the first time in his life, he said, you know what? Easter is not about eggs. Easter is not about bunnies. Easter is about Jesus. So he said, I am going to pray to Jesus. And he prayed. He decided to pray. And he wanted to give thanks for so many things. So then Saturday came, and he got up really early, and he took his Easter basket. Remember, it's really not an Easter basket, but it's the basket. He took the basket, and he heard the church bells ringing, because in his town, they also went to church on Saturdays. Then what happened is, the neighbor told him, why don't you go to your house? And you know what happened? Look! He's so excited because his sister is back home. She's no longer in the hospital. When he got home, he bound up the stairs to Lucy's room. Finally, he would see his beloved sister. Finally, he would tell her the story of the Easter egg, the real story of Easter. He told his sister of his faith. He told his sister of Jesus. He told his sister that he had hope for a new life and the love they shared with Jesus that would never, never end. So his sister was very, very happy to be home and to know that her brother knew the real meaning and the real story behind Resurrection Day. So, as I tell my granddaughters when I read a book, colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. Now, I want to share something else with you today that's more personal about me. When I was a little girl, on Easter Sunday, we would all get dressed. Did you notice that I had a spring-colored shirt? Look, I've got very, bright colors. When we were little, we used to always go to church for Easter Sunday, and we would get all super dressed up because the spring is a time where we see new life all around. If you look out the window, you can see green, you can see daffodils, some of you can see some jonquils, you can see some tulips. It's beginning to really bloom out there and look beautiful. So what happens is for Easter, everyone wanted to look beautiful and new because it's a new beginning. Just like what happens when people love Jesus and they want a new beginning in their lives. So I am going to show you. We would wear a hat. Actually, when I was a little girl, our hats were always white. We would call them bonnets, Easter bonnets. And we would put on our Easter bonnets. What do you think? We'd put out on Easter bonnets, and you know what else we would always wear? I used to love these. We would wear our white gloves. Actually, I still have some of these around. Like you see, I have this one, this set. We would wear our white gloves. To be perfectly honest with you, it was really not very easy because then if we needed to touch something, we'd get them dirty. But we would wear our gloves. Nowadays, everybody's wearing gloves, so they don't catch any germs. Come to think of it, they're also wearing hats. But I'm not going to put on a mask for Easter. So anyway, I have my Easter bonnet and my Easter gloves for my pretend Easter in my house. It's really not pretend because I'm not going to a building outside for church, the temple. The temple is right here in my house. So I just want to remind you, tomorrow is going to be Easter Sunday. You're in your own temple, your place of worship, because you are the church. The church is in you because Jesus lives in you. So, tomorrow, remember the lamb, which is the true animal that represents Easter. Get dressed, have prayer, have worship with your family, have your family altar, and be thankful for Jesus for being the one who saved you and me so that we can have eternal life. God bless you. Bye-bye.